I just want you to know, as you fight through this, you're not alone.
U.S. President Joe Biden met with local residents and toured scenes of devastation in the Mississippi town of Rolling Fork after storms last week killed 26 people and destroyed homes in both Mississippi and Alabama. The President and First Lady Jill Biden drove through Rolling Fork on Friday, viewing the damage left by a powerful tornado that flattened many of the community's 400 houses. Biden pledged the federal government's assistance as the community rebuilds.
Today I authorize the federal government to cover 100% of the cost for removing debris and emergency measures that are involved in keeping up here, by keeping shelters up and running and paying for every overtime for everyone. 100% of the cost, not for the state, for us, for 30 days. And then after that, we're not leaving either.
Rolling Fork, a town of around 1,900 in western Mississippi, was hit the hardest, with tree trunks snapped like twigs and cars tossed aside like toys. Before the president's speech, the Bidens were briefed outside a relatively undamaged elementary school, not far from a major destruction zone. According to officials, FEMA will open disaster recovery centers in 4 of the state's counties on Monday.
On Friday, where ex-President Donald Trump was due to be fingerprinted and get a mugshot next week as he becomes the first sitting or former commander-in-chief in American history to face criminal charges. A lawyer for Trump said the former president will plead not guilty to the charges related to a hush money payment to porn star Stormy Daniels made just days before the 2016 presidential election. Another Trump attorney said he will not be handcuffed when he is expected to surrender on Tuesday under the terms of a deal agreed to by the Office of Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. Legal experts said any potential trial is still at least more than a year away, meaning it could occur during or after the presidential campaign. Such a high-profile case would make it hard to find a pool of jurors who are not just impartial, but also willing to serve on what will likely be the most consequential political trial in American history, says former federal prosecutor Renato Mariotti.
Very difficult to find jurors who've never heard of Donald Trump, don't have an opinion about the man. Difficult to deal with protests and potential outrage and the safety of everyone involved, right? There have already been some threats made against the prosecutor.
Jurors are also expected to be open-minded to the facts of a case, but polling shows Trump supporters and his opponents are not easily dissuaded from their views of the former president. That could play to Trump's advantage, says James Sample, who teaches law at Hofstra University.
His supporters, there's a 30% of the American population that believes he can do no wrong, has done no wrong, and could never do wrong. That 30% of the population, they may end up on the jury, and that could be part of the way that the defense may have a strategy of trying to find that one juror, trying to find those 2 jurors who might vote to acquit.
But Sample also notes that a court of law is a different arena than the court of public opinion.
Spin won't matter, facts will matter, the law will matter, and just as happened between Election Day in November of 2020 and the certification of the vote on January 6, 2021, in that in-between period, every single time the president took his election denial efforts to court, in court where facts and law actually mattered, he lost.
Trump's expected appearance before a judge in New York as he seeks the Republican nomination in the 2024 presidential race could further divide the country. After being indicted, Trump said he was, quote, completely innocent and indicated he would not drop out of the race.
Republicans are crying foul after a Democratic district attorney announced a criminal indictment of former President Donald Trump. Former Vice President Mike Pence, speaking at an event in Washington on Friday, echoed Trump's claims that the move by Manhattan prosecutor Alvin Bragg was politically motivated.
It's clear to the overwhelming majority of the American people that this is nothing short of a political prosecution being affected by a Manhattan DA who literally campaigned on bringing charges against one particular American. And I must tell you that that should be offensive to every American, left, right, and center.
Republican lawmakers who chair powerful congressional committees have vowed to investigate Bragg and demanded he hand over documents and other confidential material from the investigation. But Bragg hasn't backed down. In a letter to 3 House committee chairs Friday, Bragg's office called the demand for documents and testimony unprecedented and illegitimate and unlawful political interference in a New York criminal case. You and many of your colleagues have chosen to collaborate with Mr. Trump's effort to vilify and denigrate the integrity of elected state prosecutors and trial judges, the letter states. The prosecutor has yet to unseal the charges, but they likely stem from an alleged hush money payment Trump's former attorney paid to an adult film star who claimed she had a sexual affair with the Republican. Trump denies the affair and maintains his innocence. Officials have stepped up security around the courthouse over the past 2 weeks after Trump called on his supporters to protest any arrest. A law enforcement source said on Friday that additional preparations would be made ahead of Tuesday's expected appearance.
A Delaware judge ruled on Friday that a jury will decide if Fox News defamed Dominion voting systems when it aired false claims of vote rigging in the 2020 election. The ruling is a setback for Fox, which had sought to avoid a trial in the $1.6 billion lawsuit, putting the high-profile case in the hands of a jury that will determine whether Fox acted with actual malice and whether Dominion suffered any damages. Dominion said it looked forward to the trial. In a statement, Fox said it will, quote, continue to fiercely advocate for the rights of free speech and a free press as we move into the next phase of these proceedings. Dominion sued Fox Corp and Fox News in 2021, accusing them of ruining its reputation by airing false claims by former President Donald Trump and his lawyers that its voting machines were used to rig the outcome of the presidential election. Dominion has said in court filings that internal emails, texts, and deposition testimony demonstrate that Fox personnel knew at every level, all the way up to Chairman Rupert Murdoch, that the election rigging claims were false and aired them anyway in pursuit of ratings. The judge ruled in Dominion's favor on some elements of defamation and said it's, quote, crystal clear that none of the statements relating to Dominion about the 2020 election are true. The judge also ruled that Fox could not use the neutral reportage defense, which holds that the press cannot be held liable for publishing newsworthy allegations in a neutral way. The trial is scheduled for April 17th and is expected to last about 4 weeks.
Katerina Kosic remembers how Russian troops killed and looted when they occupied Bucha for a month last year. This alley of glory commemorates the dead. A year on, signs of rejuvenation are everywhere. But they won't bring back Kosic's son-in-law. The Russians caused so much grief, she says, and it won't heal soon. Bucha, a leafy suburb of Kiev, became a byword for brutality. Ukrainian authorities say 461 people were killed here alone. International investigators are still collecting evidence of what Ukraine says were atrocities committed in Bucha. Moscow denies the allegations. Daria Yasipchuk has enlisted her little boy Marco to help renovate, but the threat never goes away.
A few nights ago there was a drone attack. We heard everything, and my husband even saw how drones were shot down. You hear the automatic gunfire when they shoot them down, and the children ask about it. The children know that those are the occupiers, that there are missiles.
Marco is only 4, but he remembers life under Russia's brutal month-long occupation of the town.
We were without phones. We didn't have electricity. We sat on our beanbag chairs. We slept on them. And when we went outside, there was blood everywhere.
Sounds of construction clatter in the crisp spring air. On Vokzalna Street, an internationally funded reconstruction effort aims to erase the many traces of war. Most here believe Kiev will win. But priest Andriy Holovin says the emotional wounds could fester for generations.
Ми повинні розуміти, що легше всього відбудувати стіни.
We should understand that it's easy to rebuild walls, but it's much harder to rebuild a wounded soul.
Поранену душу.
President Volodymyr Zelensky on Thursday called the liberation of Bucha and other towns around Kiev, quote, a symbol of the fact that Ukraine will be able to win this war.